condition. They're open Monday through Friday until 8 and Saturdays till 7. Check them out. That's Magic Finances. Call them today at 303-298-1155. Tell them you heard about it here at KDHS.com. Also visit us at www.magicfinancing.com.
Well, that's Magic Financing, and good morning. This is Lowell Whiteman, your host of 360 Performance, every Friday at 11 o'clock. Crimson and Clover, Tommy Janes and the Shondells, we're going to have to let them go for a minute, come back to them a little bit later. We got some great stuff today. For those of you who can see me on camera, I got a little bit of a left wing issue, got it in a sling. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but that kind of is a lead into today's theme. Plan health or healthy plans. It's a wellness day today, health and wellness day today, talking about all the different elements that you might include in your plan for health. And I'm going to make sure you understand there's a difference between a plan for health or healthy plans. Because one is intrinsic, one is looking from within, projecting who am I, what do I feel like, and then going out and making the plans to get that health that is prescribed for you, that you create the prescription for, versus looking outside the world around you and saying, I think I may make some healthy plans. I think I'm going to go get something to eat. That's something we do every day. That's a rhetoric you might hear in your head or maybe say out loud to others. But it's not exactly a plan that's about health. But that's what I'm going to talk about. And this injury that I received on Saturday last week, as I was going down on a wonderful run on my snowboard at Copper Mountain, after I had a chance to visit with my skiers at their practice Saturday morning over on Super B at Copper Mountain. By the way, if you don't know this, I'll share with you, U.S. Ski Team has a lease on the mountain. They train at Copper Mountain, and there's a lot of great club activity that goes there. Team Summit, a shout out to Team Summit and Rodney Robinson and the group out there, and all the great coaches, Paul and Zach and Scott. Everybody met Scott that listened to the show. We have a podcast of Scott now on Spotify and Apple, iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Scott Rawls was with us, a World Cup skier in his own right, Olympic medal coach of U.S. freestyle skiing, also has some international coaching experience, and that was last week. They all have plans for health, plans for a healthy lifestyle. And it includes things like exercise, it includes things like annual physicals, managing your emotions on the slopes. Well, I tell you what, people, I was having a great run after talking with my athletes, in particular Evelyn Harris. She did such a great job on the Rocky Mountain Regional Championships. She came in second in the freestyle mogul skiing. What a great effort by Evelyn. And getting ready for the next few events to finish out the season. Not as many events this year as it has been in the past, but nonetheless, good performance, excellent effort by Evelyn and her fellow skiers, getting to the end of this season and finishing it up. I'm really excited about today's session because the whole scheme of things in the last week since the last show has just made me think a little bit more effectively and appropriately at what I do about looking at myself first. I mean, I tell my athletes this all the time. Take care of you first. It's all about you in a self-aware way. And then teacher, doctor, heal thyself, teach thyself. I've got to do that more often. Sometimes you get caught being immersed in the craft and you forget to apply it to yourself first. So with that being said, the health, making a plan for health versus a healthy plan. A plan for health is an intrinsic thing, looking within, being self-aware, and taking a look at what you are all about for you. Now, every week in doing that, one of the planning elements I do every week is on Mondays. We do a mindset moment. This week, from one of my favorite martial artists and athletes is Bruce Lee. A quote from Bruce Lee goes like this: "There are no limits. There are only plateaus. And you must not stay there. You must go beyond them." That is appropriate for me for this last week. Hit a plateau. Tried to do a skill and didn't quite hit it the way I wanted to, and resulted in this torn rotator cuff. And if you don't know this, there are 4 parts to that rotator cuff that supports your shoulder joint. I got 2 of them in a way that is extremely attractive. If you do it really well and you involve the muscle tissue in addition to the tendons in your rotator cuff, you get a lot of really colorful bruising down your bicep. So what that means for me is recovery is going to be extremely challenging, but I'm up for it. And that's why the Bruce Lee quote is very appropriate, because there are no limits. There are only plateaus, and we must not stay there. Don't linger there. That's status quo. You don't want to stay at status quo. Challenge yourself and go beyond them. So says Bruce Lee. It seems really appropriate for today, looking at myself inside and sharing that with you so that we don't just dwell out around us. We look within us for the answers for how and what should we plan to have a great health. Well, as we look forward in the sports world, there's a lot of emotions going on, a lot of things we're trying to manage in managing our emotions. And as you can see here with the Mavericks teammates, they got excited about something, but as you see that, depending on what was the cause of this emotion, let's stop the yelling and stop the madness. We got to manage our emotions. Now, everybody does it differently. Everybody has their own way of handling things. I know for me, when I resulted in falling after I dropped that skill on the snow, feeling good, but then all of a sudden going, uh-oh, things started to slow down as I was beginning to receive the injury that I now have. And I then hit the ground, heard the pop. The emotions were screaming, yeah, got some pain here. Spun out on the snow, and as I'm looking, people are skiing by me. I mean, I'm making some noise. I'm like this picture shows on screen here. These Mavericks ball players are yelling, and I'm guessing they're yelling in exultation for some great thing. But I got to be in the moment as I make the plans, and my head is rushing. I'm thinking, oh my God, I got things to do. I can't have this. How serious is this? I heard the pop. I'm in pain now. I stop spinning on the snow. I'm laying flat on my back. I grab my shoulder. I lean forward. Each of these micro moments, I'm making plans about what I'm going to do. Where's my phone? Got to call 911. How fast will they get to me? Is there anybody here that's stopping? And finally, a lovely couple stopped. And you realize when you start the conversation that the gentleman with his wife, and I discover it's his wife, he had labrum surgery. So he knows what the sound is. He knows how to manage that moment and those emotions in that moment, because he knows what it sounds like. My screams, my yelling, were reminiscent for him about the pain and suffering that he felt. And we had, in that brief moment, as we waited for the ski patrol to show up, we talked about that. So I'm sharing that with you. Make a plan for health. Have your phone with you at all times. I had the right identification with me, because eventually, as we moved further down the hill with ski patrol, I had to have credentials and IDs and insurance cards. Well, interestingly enough, I had the insurance cards on my phone, because I tend to pack light when it's my wallet. I don't put it in my in my back, my snowboarding pants. Making plans. It can happen that quick. It was a very interesting moment to manage the emotions. But as I did that, and I'm sitting on the snow, and it carried with me down to the medical center, was this image of Mitzi Copeland. I mean, she recovered. I got it in me. I'll recover and I'll come back better because I want to deliver equal or better results than I have in the past prior to the injury. It's an intrinsic component, not extrinsic. Managing myself within myself and then utilizing all of those people and things around me to create a recovery plan. That's part of my health. My plan for health is also my recovery now. And I'm thinking that, okay, nutritionally, I've got it going on. I got to make sure I maintain that because I want to recover quickly. Plant-based proteins, lots of fluids, making sure that I get the right amounts. And yet, as I'm thinking about this, I'm realizing that there's a change in my lifestyle in my recovery plan. So I gotta think about this, beginning with the end in mind. Just like we talked about with Mitzi Copeland and her ankle injury and her desire to come back in that beautiful form, that the muscles, the shape, the form, the flexibility. She needed to get to or beyond where she was at before the ankle surgery so that she could perform as a prima ballerina performs. Well, I'm no prima ballerina, I can tell you that. You all know that you know me. But I'm going to bring my best by beginning with the end in mind and making a plan for my recovery. And I've got great people. I've got to give some shout outs to the Stedman Clinic out in Vail, Dr. Vidal and his team, Charlotte and Haley, and the group out there at the Stedman Clinic. I tell you what, it's like walking through an athlete's hall of fame across all sports, everything from, rowing to snowboarding, soccer, football, baseball, basketball, hockey. It's all across the board, and just accolade after accolade after accolade along the jerseys or the photographs on the walls of the exam rooms and the waiting areas. These are elite performers. And in my own right, I've got my own areas of elite performance. Mine's the brain side, the brain-body connection side. But beginning with the end in mind started really for me when I hit that exam room with Dr. Vidal at the Stedman Clinic in thinking about what does recovery look like. But more importantly, as I had sent a text to Dr. Vidal before going out for the exam, I said, hey, we're going to have a plan, right? He says, absolutely. So he examined my arm, and it's always those head nods of the doctor. Yeah, and I'm going, he knows something more than I do. I've got some more things to manage that are going to fit into my plan, the plan for me. And the two pieces of the four of the cuff, that's aggressive. That's pretty stout stuff. And then after he got the MRI, which we got after I left him, I went and got an MRI down in the Front Range at Health Images. Great, well-connected operation with locations all over the Denver metro area that feeds our medical community. Those pieces of data began to formulate the plan that fits for me. So we discovered the two parts of the four of the cuff, have the really colorful natural tattoo, purples, browns, and yellows from my armpit to my elbow on my bicep that indicates some other things. There is muscle tissue involved in just the twisting, falling, and trauma of that. So I've begun a plan in my mind about what I'm going to do, where I'm going to be recovering. So you got to make these steps and go through these plans. Now, look, I don't want anybody to be injured. We're not talking about plan health. We're talking because of my injury. We're talking about it because it seems to be reasonable to think about not just the potential of an injury if you're somebody who's very active and is out there doing the things that, look, I didn't plan for an injury. I love snowboarding. And I did some things I love to do and tried to produce a move on the snow that when I landed it fine, but just didn't hit a good edge and took me out. So the plan for me is now to make sure I'm checking down everything I need to check down. And one of those things is sharing with others. I shared with a friend of mine who has just finished his full recovery plan on his shoulder injury, and he has a cold circulating unit that will help me maintain the recovery of my tissue in my shoulder. Shared with me a sling for taking a shower. Not so sure I'll be interested in a shower right off the bat, but I appreciate Robert's participation in this. And then a covering for my bed that helps me to stay sitting upright, but in a comfortable position. Didn't even know they made those kind of things, but he swears by it. He says it helped him sleep and get through things. So making a plan that fits me is not just about the injury. It's about, do you have a health plan? Are all your documents in order so that when you want to get something done, you have no excuses and no regrets. It's going to run smoothly. You can share the information about medications in preparation for the surgery next Thursday. That all the people who need to know what's going to be necessary to help me with my plan for health. I want to make sure that I come through the surgery fine, that all the medications are in order, so that I don't have to hear any excuses from somebody. Here's something you might find extraordinary. I'm going to be asking that the anesthesiologist and I have a bit of a chat before he gives me my sleepy pill. It makes me all relaxed. So he understands exactly what's going on. I'm going to talk to Dr. Vidal when he goes in. It's kind of an arthroscopic procedure. It's an outpatient procedure. There shouldn't be much retraction of tissue at all, but there can be some internally as they pump more fluid into that space to open it up so he can see more effectively what's really going on, because MRIs and X-rays only give him so much. So once he gets in there, could be some surprises, which would cause him to retract it more. I want him to let me know that so that I know what I can expect from the irritations and the inflammations that are going to be part of the process. That's my plan. I need to know, so I'm not surprised. So I have no excuses and no regrets. As I say that, I want to make sure that I don't go too fast. I went a little too fast on that next picture. But one of the other things that comes into play is things like, okay, what are you going to eat? Do you have the groceries you need? Well, I don't. And I'm going to be getting those so that those who are going to support me, like my wife and my partner, is going to have the things that are there and be able to present them effectively. Obviously, I have use of one arm, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to my plan for outside of being bedridden for a few days over that next weekend, to be able to get good recovery, then get out of bed, get mobile, move around. Obviously, my left arm is going to be pretty much stuck to my side for a while, and yet there's going to be some plans to get me out of the sling in a controlled fashion with a therapist and make that happen. Well, medication might limit my movement a little bit, or at least my conscious awareness of my movement. So I want to make sure that my plans include all those things I have to consider up front for me, that fit me. Not you listen to the doctors, listen to therapists, listen to your family, but ultimately it's you. Now, this is something that's tough for me, and it could be tough for others of you as well. It's making sure you're sharing. Share what you want for you so that those who are there to support and assist you have a clear understanding of what that means and what that looks like. Now, with that being said, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and go to this next picture. And we've got a picture of Mr. Wilson, Russell Wilson, from the Seattle Seahawks. He's in the news these days, and he's in the news because he's wondering what's next. Now, there's contractual things that go on, but when you're making a plan about your health, it could be physical health, emotional health, financial health. In this case, it could be all of the above, because Russell is at a point in his career where the Seattle Seahawks are looking at their future in the quarterback position? Well, Russell Wilson's probably looking at it from the standpoint of not just as a football player, but living his best life. What's the plan for me? For my health, my financial health, my physical health, my football career health. Again, thinking about making plans for me. And in the football world, Seattle Seahawks have had a pretty good run with Russell. Got a Super Bowl win in there. Got a couple of Super Bowl appearances. So he's now at a part in his life where he's got to be thinking about the plans that he's making for himself and what that means for him. So if you look at the press, try not to look at the press too much about what's going on with Russell Wilson, because this picture I've got is kind of an interesting picture. It's kind of a metaphor, because he's thinking about handing things off. Or is he, in more accurately, it could be he's giving it away. He's giving the ball away and going someplace else and not staying at Seattle. Now, these are somewhat premature discussions, but it's all about health and well-being. Russell's been pretty well blessed. He's had a few dings and bruises and markings that most football players get in that tough game, that tough, violent game, but not really seriously injured. But the thing that I tell my athletes on a daily basis is you've got to think about you first. It's all about you. That's the mantra I give them. Think about this every day you wake up. It's all about me. It's all about me. If you're not making plans about you first and taking care of you in a very self-aware way, not a selfish way, a self-aware way, you're not going to be in a good place to help others. As a quarterback, you're not going to be in a good place to recognize when does his running back, his wide receivers, his linemen, do they need him? And in what way do they need him? He's got to be prepared for himself first. Now, as I say that, I'm reminded of something I just said a minute ago. Make sure you share. So, Russ, make sure you're sharing with your teammates. Now, Russell's been pretty unique about this as an NFL player and as a quarterback and leader. Every off season, he does stuff by invitation. It takes a group of his teammates to locations to have these discussions, to share with each other about what's going on. Yeah, it's all about me. Each one of you who hangs out with Russell in the off season during the summertime before you report to camp, you talk about that. You're asked by Russell and your teammates, what do you want? What do you need from me? How can I help you? Yeah, it's all about me, but I'm good with me so I can be good for you in a self-aware way. In a self-aware way. Now, I'm going to leave this. I've got a picture up here for some of you who can't see it of a baseball player. It almost looks like his mask is covering his eyes. His sunglasses are kind of that royal blue New York Mets blue. And at first glance, you think, oh my God, he's got his mask covering his eyes. No, it's sunglasses over his eyes that blend right into the mask. So as I talk about getting together and sharing, we bridge over into baseball, because part of the sharing part of things is about plan for health. COVID. Got my COVID vaccine yesterday, Thursday. Thank you, UC Health. Awesome stuff. And if you're out there wondering, what do I do? How do I know when to get my vaccine? Well, many of you should be getting instructions from, it could be from a pharmacy that you get medications from. A Walgreens, a CVS is sending you a notice saying, hey, you get your medications from us. Sign up with our portal to be notified about when we have vaccines here. Or in my case, I am a patient of UC Health physicians. Because of that, I get on their portal, my health portal. And I signed up, I registered with them. And because of that, they notify me of when they're going to be taking the next level of people in the lineup for COVID vaccines. And it's by age, it's by occupation. For those people who are first responders, healthcare workers, they're in an exempt group, and they got brought into the queue early. Well, I got brought into the queue for my Pfizer vaccine, my first of two vaccines, My next vaccine will be on March 18th. Really great system. So pay attention to that. Register. Communicate. Share with people. Your communication is seeking out those locations to get on a portal and participate in that, so that you're in the communication queue about being aware of when can you get a COVID vaccine. Now, that being said, the New York Mets, along with a lot of other baseball teams, are reporting for camp. It's now pitchers and catchers showed up first. Now it's more ball players at other skill positions are showing up. But when they showed up, they asked them about their plans for health. and the question now becomes, which baseball teams are in the best shape? So Major League Baseball, what? Yeah, they're showing up. They make a big deal of it. But now they're making a big deal of it because it's coming closer to opening day. And preseason baseball in the cactus and citrus leagues. And it's already started. So who's in the best shape? Who's been swinging the bat in their basement or going to batting cages? Could they even go to batting cages? These are plans for health. Excuse me. These are plans for health. And not just a healthy plan. It's intrinsic. You've got to live it. You've got to manage it and get after it. So yes, on the media side of things, the team schedule side of things, all these franchises have spring ball on their cactus or grapefruit league list this time of year. But that doesn't mean, just because it's on their calendar, that the players actually were doing things in the off season to make sure that they were having a plan for health, doing their runs as pitchers and catchers and outfielders, getting those runs in, getting those workouts in, making sure that your nutritional plans are beefing up the calories, that you're getting swings in the cage, getting plenty of long tosses in. These are parts of a plan for health as it relates to opening up baseball season. Look, I'm a fan, but here's my pledge to the fans out there. My pledge is you will see in a very interesting preseason. I'm going to guess the errors are going to go up because footwork's not going to be the same as you should be at this time of year because players were using the COVID excuse. Look, I know there's a lot of obstacles in front of us for wearing masks. I got my mask right here with me, okay? But that doesn't mean you couldn't go out on your own, take your mask off, and run, and lift weights, throw the ball, even if throwing the ball was into a net because you didn't think you should bring a teammate with you, or your wife or your kids aren't big enough or strong enough to take your throws. No excuses, no regrets. So what have teams done to get prepared? I'm not sure. I can tell you this, from what I know, it's inconsistent. Their plan for health as a team in the operational side of things, the X's and O's part of it, some of that may be going off to the side. They're not delving into the books about their competitors and about the league. They're not delving into, okay, how's his injury rehabilitation coming? I know what that's all about. Got a little rotator cuff surgery coming. I'm going to be diligent on that because I'm not a pro golfer. I'm not a competitive karate person anymore, but I want to be the best I can be. I want my health plan, my plan for health coming from within me. And yeah, I'm going to listen to the people that I respect and I love as guidance for me, and as well my doctors. But professional and collegiate high-performance athletes, we've got to prepare. We've got to have an agenda about how we're going to get ready. And is your end in mind thinking about being better than what I was in the past? So you've got the past as a guideline for setting that goal out there in front of you. But once you set that goal out there, that defines a time span. Do you have enough time to get to that end? Are you prepared Is your plan for health considerate of the time you have to get there? Now, with my injury, I have no real rush. I don't have a cactus league or grapefruit league end in mind that is going to help me define where I want to be when that shows up. But you do know. You as a fan know what you want to see and what you expect for the performance of those athletes. And you know what? No excuses. Okay, COVID this, COVID that. Don't use that as an excuse. Oh, the mask is uncomfortable. I have difficulty breathing. No, everybody does. Now, as a fan, I'm excited as a fan because I think we're going to have one very entertaining baseball season. And if any of you are out there wondering what will be the season as a fan in the stands, I don't have an answer for you, but I know that Major League Baseball is leaving it up to each franchise in their respective communities to determine what seating capacity they're going to have. I know for me, baseball is a fan participation sport for me. I have a hard time watching it on television. I mean, I will because I follow certain athletes and certain teams for my profession, but it's not the same. The smell, the atmosphere, the sound of the bat against the ball, making contact, listening to the crowd, it's just different. So I'm hoping that the communication that the franchises provide us is early and often, like voting in Chicago, making sure that we understand what's going on out there and what we can expect from the stadiums. I know the Rockies, I've been getting more than my fair share of Rockies social media blasts and messaging on the internet about ticket sales. I think they're talking somewhere around the 12 to 15,000 fan range for the stadium. That makes for a lot of cardboard cutouts, doesn't it? A lot of cardboard cutouts to fill the seats. So when we're talking about a plan for health, it's one that's derived from within. You've got to be the one that drives it. You've got to be the one in the moments to go and ask for support from those that you care about and that you trust. Could be a physician. In my case, it's a whole litany of people, given what I've got to look forward to in the next few weeks. 6 to 8 weeks in the sling, and then 3 months worth of strength and flexibility training after that to get me where I want to go. I want to get back on my bicycle for summertime rides. I want to be out on the golf course. I just want to take a walk without having my arm tucked under my chin. But I'm just at the beginning. So beginning with the end in mind has a lot of slices to it. So as it relates to you and what you're expecting for fan participation with baseball, be open-minded. Enjoy community baseball. Maybe balance out the Rockies game attendance with local team attendance. Sit on a side hill. Even if you have nobody participating in those games, go check it out anyway. Be a fan on the side of a hill, just enjoying the day and the sport. I hope we're going to have more of those kinds of outings in our future when we have these limited outcomes for fan participation in the stands. Also know that you've got a lot of football leagues around the country. One of the plans for me for being healthy is finding other alternatives when I'm going to sit and relax and manage my day, because looks like I'm going to have a lot of sitting going on with my life in the next few weeks. Is the Division II football had many leagues across the country, especially down in the southeast, have opted to have their season this spring. So you've got a number of networks covering, like Fox Sports 1, I believe some of the conferences. If you have a favorite conference, check out their websites, because they're streaming their football games around the country. So take a look at that. Kind of help your emotional health plan about what's going on out there in the sports world. So speaking of that, we've got some podcast moments I want to make sure you're aware of. We've got now 360 Performance is on Spotify as a podcast. All you have to look for is 360 Performance. Just go on Spotify podcast, type in 360 Performance, and you'll find the list of the shows that we've produced over the last 6 to 9 weeks. Today's show will be posted over the weekend. And we've also got our podcasts on Apple and Google, as well as a number of other podcast platforms. So check us out there. And as I say that, you know that every day and every week here at KUHSdenver.com, we are streaming to all parts of the world, all parts of the globe these days. I'm very proud to be part of this team and this operation. I'm really glad to have Henry in my corner in helping us deliver the great quality shows that we do. So that's a great cue, great setup there. See what I did there, that segue. You got to get involved with doing the things that are best for you in your health plan. I mentioned COVID, and I want to make sure I mention again UC Health and what they have done in putting together just a great program. I'll give you a picture of what it was like going up to and they have a number of locations. I went to the Loveland location off of Highway 34 at the health center up there for UC Health, and they had this conference room set up. That you got in and they identified what day your appointment was, and then what your second appointment was. So you're either going to get a Moderna vaccine or the Pfizer vaccine. I was in the Pfizer line, and we serpentined our way through the hallways, making sure you followed the person in front of you so you didn't get lost in the lines. And even as I say that, you know what happened. Somebody got lost in the wrong line. So, but anyway, they're great people, great volunteers. The healthcare workers up there were just awesome. I had a chance to talk to Jamie. She was the one who gave me my needle stick in my arm and injected me with the COVID vaccine. And I want to remind everybody, you're not literally getting the vaccine. You're getting a technology in that vaccine that actually seeks out the COVID virus if and when you even get it, and kind of as an antibody response, it goes out and neutralizes COVID-19 in your system. And you get a little sticker on a card. So my second vaccine, I'll get another sticker. I have a complete card so that if in the future we have any kind of travel restrictions for anybody who hasn't been vaccinated, I'll have my card, almost like a badge, to show anybody. And I looked at that sticker, and the expiration was 12/31/2069 is when that concoction of the injection in my system expires. That's just insane. That's great technology. I don't think we're reveling enough in how wonderful our epidemiology technology has gone. The viral technologies are amazing. The next one's coming out is Johnson & Johnson. They improved and built on what they already knew from what Pfizer, Moderna, and others have done. And theirs is a one-step injection. Don't be dismayed by the numbers. The numbers that Johnson & Johnson has were developed during the time when the COVID vaccine was active. Plus, we were getting more versions, virulent strains of the COVID virus. So when you see the numbers of efficacy rate of 60-70%, that's against just this huge population of people who were infected. So those numbers are pretty stout, because the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines didn't have that huge of a population of people who had gotten COVID, whereas Johnson & Johnson does. So I really think the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going to be even more stout against the virulent strains the new ones that are coming out because of their numbers. So be bolstered, ask questions, get involved, find out about what that all means for you, and in making your plan for health. It's all about you, making your plan for you. So take a look at the many different platforms. If you're part of the UC Health Network, make sure you register so they keep you informed, they keep you involved. If you're part of other health networks that support you, Kaiser Permanente, their network, or maybe it's part of a pharmacy has reached out to you, get involved in their network so that when they get their allocation of vaccines, they can ring you up. And that will be more for the younger people 60 and under, as their slice of time comes out for them. Be part of the process. Like I said, get involved. Get involved. Because when you do get involved, it's I talk about this all the time. Making a plan is one thing, but then the other part of that is work the plan. Make a plan for health that's you, that fits you, but then as you get involved, make sure that you're taking action in that getting involved. It's not getting involved is not just making the plan, but make a plan and then take action on the plan. Put that plan in place that fits you and represents what's best for you, living your best life, and then take action on it. Get after it. And if you need another reminder, check out Spotify, because this show will be on Spotify over the weekend. And to remind you again, share it with a friend. Every Friday here at KUHSdenver.com, we are streaming live on Fridays at 11 a.m. with 360 Performance, giving you strategies about what it takes to not only make a plan for your health, but to take action on that plan. So that when you have health issues, like what started this show today, my surgery is coming up for my rotator cuff, 2 parts of 4, not just halfway, or it is halfway, but not just a little bit. Got to get it taken care of. Dr. Vidal out there at the Stedman Clinic, some great professionals out there doing some great work on orthopedic issues, and I'm so glad that they're part of my plan for health, and that they're communicating with me about what I need to do to be part of the streaming that we have here at KUHS Denver every week and every Friday for me here at 360 Performance. I am so glad that they're part of my world. It makes it easy to deliver a great show for 360 Performance. One of the things I wanted to end up with you is that next week, make sure I give you some idea of what next week is all about. It's going to be an encore show. Henry said, no, you got to deliver. You got to bring it in my medicated state. I'll bring it to you remotely in slurring my words. No, we're going to do an encore show about, and I think what we're going to do is the encore show is going to be Scott Rawls, who joined me last week when we talked about another look at World Cup and world-class athletes. Scott Rawls, as a coach, has been an Olympic medal coach, both domestically and internationally. He's just a real great source of information about performing, setting expectations, being in the moment, and the need for speed. He and I talked on Saturday before I went off and had my little accident about managing the speed, instilling a confidence in the athlete to manage that speed. Just really get after it. Well, it's easy to say, right? Unless you've felt it yourself. Well, for sure, Scott Rawls has. He knows what it looks like, what the speed looks like that an athlete is freestyling down the moguls with. And in the reports I got from Scott and my athlete, Evelyn, she was pushing the limits. Scared her, but she survived, and that's the key. She felt the speed, increased the speed up to her level of tolerance, but it gave her got her a little nervous, but that's how you learn. And then could I push it more? Then the next one, could I give it a little bit more? And that's what she was learning, how to control that and push it a little bit to get down the hill. So that's what next week is going to be about, encore presentation of looking at the need for speed on the hill. The World Cup skiers, Scott Rawls will be with me on that show for next week. We'll do that as our encore show here at 360 Performance on streaming here at KUHSdenver.com. Now, as I say that, we're looking forward to the future The week after that, we're going to have Rhonda Blanford Green on from CHASA, chasa.org, and talk a little bit about what does the spring and summer look like for sports. Will we have a full season for baseball this spring and softball for those schools who have spring softball? And then, then we're looking forward into the future. I'm going to guess Rhonda's going to talk to us a little bit about the vaccination process and what schools and Governor Poulos. I know that there's Governor Poulos and the CHASA organization. They talk routinely about how they're going to handle it. The state's position is a great guide for Rhonda and her team. But I'm interested about the kids as well as how the politics, well, it's not really politics, the governance of COVID in the state of Colorado and how it's going to impact CHASA and their guidelines and rules for moms and dads and athletic directors. But remember, it's not just about sports. It's also about student activities. So you've got the financial groups that go out. They've got the financial clubs the kids do. They go to a big conference in the spring. There's all kinds of drama plays and things going on. So who knows what's going to happen with that? And not to mention, science fairs, heck, chess clubs, and just all different kinds of activities that fall under the purview of CHASA. I'll be interested to know about what's going to go on with that and how they're going to handle that. And I'll be in a sling still. I'll be in my first full week after kind of chilling from the surgery. And we'll talk a little bit about plans that you have to make, thinking forward, with the end in mind, sharing your information with those that need to know so that they can be their best selves, to be living their best life in those moments. So that's 2 weeks out. In that third week, I've got plans to get some of my authors buddies on my show to talk about their new books, but their schedules are pretty tight. I'm looking at Jack Canfield has got a book out that I want to talk to him about. I've got Stephen Kotler that talks about flow state. I deal with the flow state routinely. That's typically extreme athletes are very much in touch with the flow state. But I want to try to get Stephen Kotler on the show to talk about his new book. The Rise of Superman was one of his first ones. He's got a new one out. We'll try to get him confirmed for the show. We've had conversations, but it's beyond a wish and a prayer right now. It's a little bit more of scheduling. So I know we're going to get Steve on the show in the near future. I'm hoping it's in 3 weeks, but if not, it will be in weeks to come. As we finish up the end of the show, one of the things that's going to be really of importance to me is nutritional plans. As you know, we talk to Nikki Burnett routinely, and Nikki's got her show on a bi-weekly basis here on Thursdays at KUHS, streaming her knowledge out to you all about functional nutrition. I am working really diligently to be on a plant-based source of protein for me. I love, I'm a hamburger and steak kind of guy. That's how I was raised. But grass-fed is one thing. If I'm going to have red meat, it's going to be a grass-fed source of red meat. I'm trying to limit the amounts of that, put more sources of plant-based protein in my diet. I love black beans and garbanzos as a combination with cabbage, coconut oil, and vinaigrette as my dressing is one of my favorite go-tos. I'm getting into better spicing, picking up more herbal essence of spices to give me a good flavoring. It's a struggle with an old guy like me. Going back from my past, what I did was as a kid, trying to change those behaviors. I blame my parents. Damn them for getting me hooked on those things. But no, I'm doing pretty good. But we're gonna have some conversations with Nikki in the future and share back to her. She had me on her show. I want to bring her on my show. We're going to talk a little bit about recipes. And one of the things I want to try to do is have a remote show with Nikki in the kitchen and actually show you the foods that we want to talk about regarding plant-based sources of protein, and give you some recipes and concoct those things right up in front of you all. And I'll need another arm. I've got one that I won't be able to use, so it'll be essential that I have Nikki helping me show you some of those things. So we want to talk about that in plant-based protein sources. And I also want to talk about hydration and the many sources of hydration. As many of you know, I like my caffeine. You may as well. I metabolize caffeine a lot faster than most. I don't have that can't sleep if you drink caffeine after 9 o'clock kind of thing. But hydration, for me, has taken on a whole new look from a standpoint of what does it get out of my system. You know that stressor chemicals only are released if you sweat them, you urinate them out, or you cry them out. That's the fluid exchange that helps your stressor chemicals. So I want to know about different fluid sources that, other than water is the best, that will help me void certain things that I need to void. I'm looking into magnesium these days and other metals that will help my functional nutritional basis, not only with stressor chemicals, but with other types of nutrients that will help with the healing process, anti-inflammatory process. I'm learning so many things about when I get older, what I need to know about. And that's what started today's show, is my awareness through the examination process in this injury about what I need to be more aware of as I grow older. And it's not a bad thing. And that's a paradigm I've got to get over. It's not a bad thing. It's just different. The aging process should not humble me to the point I go to tears. It hasn't. It hasn't yet. It might, but it hasn't yet. But I want to know more about hydration as it relates to both feeding me with nutrients I need and how to use different fluids in the hydration process to help me clean things out. And one of the things, a colleague of mine who knows Nikki really well, is she's got hydration stations. Intravenous fluid intake is another way to input hydration and fluids into your system that takes things out, puts things in, vitamin, nutrients, that kind of thing, but also helps to flush things out, and helping you live a better life, be a better life. And that is where I'm going to come back to my beginning. We start from within, not out there, from within. Look at what's out there from within. The outline is within you. And be more aware of that, so that I can be more aware of the people around me that help me in the ways they do. We start with gratitude every day. I didn't say it as specifically today as I have in the past, so I'll emphasize it again today. I'm grateful for being here and being present. I am grateful for being able to communicate what needs to be communicated to those who I trust and love. And I don't do that enough. So I'm grateful for the capability of doing that, and I need to work harder at being better at that. Gratitude is not with latitude. Gratitude should be full and fully tested, and with attitude, gratitude with attitude, so that you can bring it to people that need to hear it. In addition to that, I want to make sure that I say a big thank you again. I really am appreciative of people at the Stedman Clinic, Charlotte and Haley and Dr. Vidal. Armin, thank you so much for being there for me. I tell you what, you don't get this kind of respect often at the level that I got from Dr. Vidal. I texted this guy on Sunday after I discovered the x-rays and what was going on with me on Saturday, and he responded, had me scheduled for an appointment with him quickly. We are now in the process. Then we had the surgery is scheduled and confirmed with the facility for next Thursday. He's rocking. This is taken care of and respect. I am so grateful for the Stedman Clinic and what they do. They are a wonderful team out there in Vail, Colorado, and are hooked into services and systems in the Metro Front Range area. Health Images is awesome. They're hooked in. Got my MRI down here on Church Ranch. Very convenient. They got it sent electronically to them. Awesome, awesome stuff. The medical system in America does work, but we got some things that need to be fixed. But when we have examples like that we can reference to get it done right, it's awesome. And I want to also make sure that Copper Clinic on Copper Mountain, you people, Nicole, Jamie, Chris, Jesse, Dr. Jesse, you guys are just, thank you. Thank you so much for what you did for me. And Matt in the truck transporting me, and on the snowmobile getting it down, that was an interesting ride. Don't want to do that very often, not even for fun. Because if you're doing it, it probably wasn't for fun. So at any rate, I'm a bit at loss at words right now, and that doesn't happen very often. Thank you, everybody, for having a great day with me today. Every Friday at 11 o'clock, 360 Performance brings to you strategies and solutions with methods to implement ways you can be your best. Performance methods, performance issues about how you can be the best you. Plan your health. Don't just make healthy plans. Plan your health for you that fits you with the end in mind, so that when you introduce yourself to people like I've talked about today, they can really take the steps necessary to give you what you deserve in planning that best health for a best life for you. Hey, have a great day today, everybody. Enjoy what you do for you. Take care.